Hi, my name is Judy Bergen. I work for an organization called Love Guatemala Canada. Love Guatemala Canada started 23 years ago, the first team that my husband and I took to Guatemala. Do you know where Guatemala is? Guatemala has a population of 18.5 million. Guatemala is also 96% smaller in size than all of Canada. Guatemala has 37 volcanoes, of which 3 are very active. The minimum wage of Guatemala is $450 a month Canadian. Prices have gone up, where gasoline is the same price as it is here. So if you're making $450 a month and you work and you have to take your vehicle and you have a family, that doesn't really cut it. 25.5% of Guatemala is illiterate. In 2021, 1,560 cases of Gleaners soup was given out. In 2022, 889 food hampers were given to families who were very, very hungry and poor. In March of 2022, we only had 23 cases of soup left, wondering when the container that left in March was ever going to get to Guatemala. It took 3 months, and the end of May, we finally received our full container. Of that container of 970, 95 cases have now been given out. We have 36 sponsored students in middle school, secondary school, and university, and we have 125 English students. Our mission statement is, we believe in finding the lost, serving the under-resourced, and loving the forgotten. In 2012, we opened our first soup kitchen. The mayor gave us the building because he appreciated what we were doing for his people. We have had to do many adjustments because of COVID. We had to take our tables out, and now soup is actually only being served when people bring their containers to the girls in the kitchen, and then they take them home for their families. You will recognize the guy on the right in the picture. That's Norm. Norm works here at the Gleaners, and Norm has been to Guatemala 5 times. According to Sandra, our chef, she said Norm makes excellent tortillas. These little ones come from an orphanage in Guatemala. Many orphanages and regular schools use our soup. They do it many different ways. They add rice, they add noodles, and now they're starting to stuff chili rellenos with the soup. If you've never had a chili relleno, you're missing out on something. The pastor in the picture on the right serves 45 families. He makes his soup at home. He and his son carry it outside of the church, and the people come with their containers. The little girl on the left belongs to one of the orphanages. Not all soup is carried by truck. These young men carried 50 cases of soup, and you know they're 31 pounds apiece, and they walked 1.5 kilometers uphill. The families were very pleased that they could receive the soup. We teach one of the people in another organization how to make it, and then they proceed to teach the village how to make it. The couple on my left, that's a sad story for me, because Sergio passed away on Easter Sunday. He was only 52 years old, but he had kidney disease. And with kidney disease in Guatemala, your lifespan is cut quite quickly. His wife has taken over the ministry that they had. They serve 600 children with Fraser Valley Gleaner soup. And there you will see the chili rellenos and the people who are receiving it. On the bottom left is his wife explaining to the gal who works with me, Marlene, that the ministry is going so well, even without her husband. These pictures just depict different ways that the soup is served. Out of the back of a truck, it is just served on a table in Center Square, and you can see how many cases of soup you can get onto the back of a half-ton, and sometimes the young men will stay on top just to make sure that it doesn't move. The picture on the left is an enormous pot of soup. They feed about 180 children a day. And we carry soup. My street was under construction for 6 months, and it still is. And so they park 3 blocks away, and we use wheelbarrows and the backs of other people to carry our soup. Thank you to Fraser Valley Gleaners for blessing the people of Guatemala. These people can't come with us, but they are still a blessing by cutting the vegetables, packing the soup, and then shipping it out. In case you're wondering what happens to the soup when it arrives in Guatemala, it comes by container to the city that I live in called Jocotenango. We have generally 25 volunteers who come with their vehicles, and we load them. And then they drive to my place. And this picture is of my house. My house sits on two 40-foot containers. The one container on the left is where the soup goes, and the container on the right is where we keep donations for community and also construction material. We generally build 3 to 5 houses a year, depending on the size of the family. This was Manuel and Marta's house. They started off living in a house with 15 total, and they were all related. But many of them were sleeping on the floor. They were sleeping on pieces of plywood. They didn't have blankets. They had a sheet to lie on and a sheet to cover up with. And he owned his property, and that's the only way that we will build a house. You have to own your property. You have to have title to that property. And so when Manuel showed us the title, we took it to the city, verified it, and came back and said, we can start building your house. It's a little unique house. For those of you who live in Abbotsford, you will know that at Five Corners, there is a building that looks very similar to Manuel's house. They now all have beds to sleep on. They have a kitchen. They have 2 bathrooms in this house. And they are just so ever grateful to the people who sponsored them. Jacobo's house. Jacobo actually works for me. They needed a 3rd story on their house. There are 5 children who live there and 3 adults. Their daughter asked me, is it possible that I can have a bedroom now when they're building? She said, I've prayed 3 years to have my own bedroom. She shares her bedroom with her grandmother, who is 76 years old and happens to have Alzheimer's. So she's getting up at night, she's roaming around, and Vasti is just, I would give anything to have my own room where I could also do my studies. The house is now finished, and Vasti has her own bedroom. This is Sandra's house. We built Sandra and her family a house 10 years ago. Sandra's a widow. She lives with her daughter, who's a widow. Sandra's raising 2 grandsons, and Carla, her daughter, is raising 2 children. Both of their husbands were killed in the Patan many, many years ago. So now, the house that we built 10 years ago, the kids have outgrown the house. The boys are now close to 6 feet tall. Carolina, who's in nursing school, wants her own room. And so we took all the laminate down. We've moved them to a temporary house. And now we are building their house for them. It'll have 5 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a bathroom. These are our food hampers. We serve 200 families a month with food hampers. We go all the way up to where we have to drive for 2.5 hours. And these people are so very, very needy. The picture that you see on the right and on the left happens to be from Nebach. Nebach was the last hold for the Civil War in 1996. These people have almost nothing. These women line up early in the morning when they know that we're coming, and we provide them each with a 30-pound food hamper. We have English classes. The young people there in Guatemala really, really want to learn English. They know that they can become better students. They know that the jobs offer is way better if they can speak Spanish and English. And so we now have 125 students in 5 different centers that our English teacher, Arnaldo, who is a national, that he teaches. Our sponsored students. We have 36 sponsored students. They have to be in middle school, secondary school, and in university. The pictures that you see are just a small, minute section of our 36 students. We have students going into law. We have students going into business administration. We have students becoming nurses, doctors, teachers, accountants, and we are all very proud of them. They're studying really hard and they're doing really well. In case you want to sponsor someone, just let me know. On October the 18th, 2021, a 40-foot container of medical supplies left Edmonton to come to Guatemala. When I contacted Emmanuel Foundation, I said to Lal, this container is going to leave Edmonton. You aren't exactly close to a dock. And he said, no. He said, we send it by train. It goes from Edmonton to Montreal, from Montreal to the Bahamas, from the Bahamas to Panama, from Panama up to Guatemala. And we were amazed. It only took 6 weeks to get there. Dr. Stefan, who we supplied all the medical equipment for, is a very good friend. He's also the top surgeon in the country. He has a medical clinic, and he has this hospital now that is being built. The first 2 floors are now finished, and he's hoping eventually it'll be 5 stories. His wife, Carla, is a pediatrician and also has her office in the clinic. Dr. Stefan has done 9 surgeries now. The first surgery that he did with the equipment that we brought happened to be on Valentine's Day, and he delivered via C-section a very healthy little boy. My husband passed away in 2015. In his memory, we have built a school. The school has 185 children. We had looked at the property before Philip passed away, and then prayed about it and decided we needed to raise funds so that we could not only buy the property, but then build the school. The school will now be celebrating 10 years because they were meeting in a double garage with about 60 to 70 students. They had to stagger them for classes because they just didn't have enough room. You will also see in the picture a memory bench. This memory bench sits outside of our soup kitchen, and another one is in the police station. These are the wonderful people that work with me. The couple in the center, Marlene and Jacobo, called me in 2020 and said, we noticed on Facebook that you are serving a lot of people. Do you have anybody to help you? And I said, not at the moment. Why? And she said, can we come and help you? And I said, can you be here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock? And they have worked with me ever since. I trust them. I feel when I'm in Canada, I don't have to be concerned about what's going on in Guatemala because these two look after everything. On the left, top picture, you will see my 2 chefs in the kitchen in Hocotenango. That is Sandra and Odelia. On the bottom left, you will see Arnaldo. That's our English teacher. And on the right are my 2 pastor construction workers. Both of these guys have got churches that don't pay them, so they work for me. This is a wonderful group that God has given me that work hard and really want to give Him the glory.
Soñar lo imposible, soñar, vencer al invicto rival.
This is a song that I learned many, many years ago. It talks about to dream the impossible dream. And this is the impossible dream that I have for each one of the students that we work with. They can become the doctor, lawyer, business person that they want to be. I often tell them, how many of you have ever considered being the president of Guatemala? And they laugh and go, oh no, I could never do that. And I said, yes, you can. You can. You can try and change this country for the better. Thank you, Fraser Valley Gleaners, for allowing me to share our dreams and our hopes in Guatemala.